Hello? Your Health is Calling, where holistic health meets practical solutions for your well being. With your host, speaker, New York Times bestselling author, Sue Kostyk, a seasoned holistic health practitioner and longevity coach. Join Sue each week to embark on a journey to uncover the root causes of your health concerns. Through a personalized approach, learn how to decode the messages your body is sending and craft natural protocols to address them. Call in live at 888-994-4995 Studio A.
Good morning. Welcome to Hello, Your Health is Calling. I'm Sue Kostyk, and I'm an integrative health practitioner specializing in root cause. And we dive deep into the root cause of what's happening and the symptoms that you're having. But today we are going to continue on with our series. We're going through Dr. Cabral's de-stress protocol, and we have been moving through these kind of rapidly, but I'm going to just recap where we've been so far. And the first letter in the de-stress protocol is diet. So we focus on our diet, we focus on eating whole foods, what comes from the earth, nothing processed, nothing that has ingredients that you can't pronounce. And the second one is for exercise. And we want you to move for the most part. Not necessarily, this doesn't mean that you have to go kill yourself in the gym every day. What it means is that you're moving and you're moving your body. If you are struggling with different parts of your health, then movement is going to be super important to you. The S is for stress management. That was a big one. We spent a couple weeks on it. Stress is going to be deemed as the number one killer of humankind because we cannot get away from stress. So during that module, and if you ever want to look at any of these, they are on the YouTube channel, the Reinvented Life Network, and you can go back and see all of these recaps, or you can shoot me an email at support@hello, your health is calling, and we'll make sure that you get those. So the T that we covered is for toxins, and we talked a lot about toxicity, what that does to your body, how we can't avoid toxins, and what we can do to lower our toxic load and empty that cup, if you will, as your body is a cup or a rain barrel, if you will. And as we just keep piling things in there, ultimately your rain barrel is going to overflow and all of these toxicities are going to get into your body. So last week we talked about rest. Actually, we spent, I think, a couple weeks on rest and how important rest is for your overall well-being, sleep, getting that rest that you need and not constantly producing that cortisol, which ultimately is going to run out. So we come upon the E in distress, and that is emotions. And this is probably going to be a 2-week, again, because there's so much to be said about managing our emotions and how our emotions really do affect our overall well-being. You cannot separate mind and body. We are one being. They are connected. I talked in one of the really early podcasts about the gut-brain connection and how the two are supposed to be best friends and work together, and when they do that, your body is going to run at its optimal level and you're going to be a healthy person. So managing emotions is really, really important, and there have been 9 toxic emotions identified, and we're going to go through those, kind of peel the onion as far as our emotional health goes. And we'll do that. We'll take a quick break and then we'll regroup and we'll go through all of these 9 toxic emotions and what they mean and how they affect us. We'll be back.
Hello, your health is calling. Feeling bloated, low on energy, dealing with hormone imbalances, Integrative Health Coach Sue Kostyk is here to assist you. Reach out to Sue for practical health solutions guided by her professional training as a holistic coach. Sue specializes in identifying the underlying causes of health issues and restoring balance. Don't let your health concerns impact your well-being. Contact Sue Kostyk today at 917-362-5176 or via email at sue@symmetryhealthandwellness.com and take the first step towards a healthier, happier you.
Hello, Your Health is Calling, a new show brought to you by the Reinvented Life Network. Tune in Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
You've been watching Hello, Your Health is Calling. Join me as we dive into the realms of longevity, nutrition, stress management, and toxin removal, all without the use of harsh pharmaceuticals. And now, back to the show.
Okay, we are going to jump into these 9 toxic emotions. And the first one that we're going to talk about is bitterness. And, I'm sure that many of you have heard the adage that bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It's one of those emotions that really shows you that you're holding on. You're holding on to judgment of yourself. You're holding on to judgment of others. And, forgiveness is key. And you don't forgive yourself, your other people for them. You forgive them for you so that you can move on. There's questions that we're going to be going through and asking ourselves as we kind of go through this module, if you will. And you can take an inventory of your emotions. And with bitterness, it's like just kind of, if you feel like you're falling into that, like you're just bitter and angry at people and people have done you wrong and you just can't let it go. And this could be something that you have held on to since childhood. It could be something that happened many, many years ago and you just haven't been able to let it go. And it's affecting your mood. Every now and then it pops in and you just can't let it go. And, that other person has moved on. They don't even give it a second thought. So, letting it go, forgiving that act, that person, doesn't mean you have to forget it. It doesn't mean you have to be friends with that person if that's a boundary that you need to create. But ask yourself, what are you holding on to? What can you forgive? And, I talk about forgiving ourselves too, because as we go through life, we're going to go through other emotions that we hold on to that have been brought on by decisions and things that we've made personally. So giving yourself grace and forgiving yourself is one of the really, really big steps on being emotionally healthy. So the next one is going to be resentment. And that kind of goes hand in hand with bitterness. And because when you hold on to that bitterness, you really become a resentful person. And I love the graphic in this slide because it's a barbed wire fence, if you can tell. And it's holding you back in the past. It's holding you back. You're on the other side of the fence and you cannot move forward. When you feel resentment, it really does show that you're living in the past and you're not allowing the present to be as it is. And, how can you turn around and view whatever occurred for you to be resentful or bitter for that matter? How can you turn it around and view it as a learning experience? It's leading you, when you start to view these experiences as learning experiences, you become a really well-rounded person, actually. And, nothing happens in our lives that isn't already mandated. So by holding on to resentment, you're refusing to walk into the present. You're just holding on to the past. And, letting it go and practicing forgiveness and gratitude is just going to let you go on the other side of that fence and to walk in the present. So the third toxic emotion is discomfort. And this is a little bit confusing to people when we talk about it, because I'm not talking about pain per se. I'm talking about that feeling that something's not right, something's off, you feel a little discomfort in your soul, and it's a sign that you need to pay attention to what's happening right now. The discomfort may be moving you out of your comfort zone. So many of us, when we start moving into a new part of our life, we start to get that pushback from ourselves. Our brain is, it's wired to make sure that we feel comfortable all the time. So when you think of doing something new, your brain is already working the over under on how comfortable or uncomfortable you're going to be. And if you start to feel that discomfort, you are more than likely not going to start moving out of your comfort zone. You're going to stay stuck. And, when you're taking your life to the next level, you're always going to feel discomfort. It's the way that your brain protects your body from pain. And discomfort is not a bad thing. It means that maybe you need to take a look at what's happening right now. And if you are trying to level up your life and maybe pursuing something different, then that is going to cause you a little bit of discomfort. But when you start to move through that discomfort, then your brain is going to understand that you're moving through it and that you're serious about it. And the discomfort is going to slowly go away, and you're going to start feeling comfortable in this new zone that you're in. Our minds are super powerful. I say this all the time. It's mind over matter, and you got to trick your brain. So when you start to feel like, if you're moving into a new part of your life and you start to feel like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not made for this, then you just keep pushing forward, because once your brain understands that this is your new level and this is where you're going, then you're going to start feeling more comfortable in it. So the next toxic emotion we're going to talk about is anger. And I'm kind of smiling because this little guy is so funny. Because anger, it can be very beneficial. But it shows that you're really passionate. And it shows like what you're passionate about and where your boundaries are. And it can be super beneficial if it doesn't burn you out. So, anger is one of those emotions that can really poison your immune system, because with anger comes an increased amount of cortisol. Now, when we were in the stress and the rest modules, we talked about cortisol, and we talked about how when you get into these stressful situations, cortisol is released, and you have to bring your mind back down into that parasympathetic nervous system so that you can rest and relax. And with anger, cortisol is at its highest. And if you live in that anger, then again, you're going to max out your adrenals, and the cortisol is not going to stop flowing, and you're not going to feel well. You can't stay in a state of anger. You need to learn how to temporarily channel that emotion to pursue a worthy cause or to make some worthy changes. But it's one of those emotions that you don't want to sit in. And, bitterness, anger, resentment, they're like triplets. And those are the ones that are really going to burn you out. And they're the ones that are going to keep you stuck in your past. And a lot of illnesses can be born out of that because it causes so much stress. Remember, the mind and the body, they're all connected, and you're going to start feeling it in your body when that anger just doesn't ever turn off. The next one we're going to talk about is disappointment. And disappointment is one of those emotions that it's a normal human event. We will have disappointment our whole lives. I can't remember what movie I was watching, but it was a woman talking about her daughter and saying she was very young. She says, well, it's a good thing she's going to be disappointed because life is full of disappointments. And when we talk about disappointment, we also talk about expectation. And, we place a super high expectation on ourselves when we're trying something. Disappointment shows that we tried something. It shows that you don't give in to apathy, but it's one of those human emotions that you really must move on from, because then it becomes a punishment. And, again, learning from disappointment, when we try something new and it doesn't go the way we want, instead of saying, I'm such a failure and I can't do anything, channel that emotion and get the learning from what happened. I talk about journaling a lot in my practice, and I do believe that journaling, getting things on paper from your mind or your heart, is a super helpful way to kind of get rid of different emotions and get it down on paper. And you can actually go back into the journal and figure out what went wrong, what you can do better. Use the disappointment to figure out how you can improve. And again, if it's a disappointment in people, or events, then try to figure out what the expectation was and why your expectation was not fulfilled. And maybe your expectation was too high. And I always tell people, when you start to set expectations, that's when disappointment will come in. So, manage your disappointment. It's a normal human emotion, but you can't sit in it. It's just like everything else. You don't want to get stuck sitting in any one particular emotion for too long. So the next emotion we're going to talk about is guilt. This one kind of goes hand in hand with disappointment, because especially if we're disappointed in ourselves, then we start to feel the guilt. And maybe it's because we feel like we've disappointed someone and we're sitting in that expectation of someone else's expectation, or we've placed our own expectations way too high. I do this to myself. I will be very vulnerable and transparent. I do this to myself because I feel like I should be further along in some areas than I am. And I can sit in that guilt and the what ifs. And, I am a constant learner. I am always getting new certifications. I am doing another certification that is all around longevity, and I started it a year ago. And I'm really hard on myself because I feel like I should be done. And I have a very active practice, and now I have this podcast and everything. So I have to give myself grace, and not feeling guilty that I'm not as far along as I think I should be. What you do or who you are is up to you. And a lot of times we let parents, friends, religion, school, work, other factors that make us believe that we should be who we are, what we do, and mold that specific expectation around us. So, instead of feeling guilty and falling into the expectation of others, just, be who you are, and understand that it's not the expectation of other people. It's literally how you live your life. And, you don't owe other people anything. You owe them kindness and, those kind of things. But when people start to put their expectations on you and you start feeling guilty for not following through it, then, that's when the guilt is going to actually turn into the next one, which is shame. And, shame is one of those things that, as in the graphic, it's like this um, hourglass that is slowly filling up, and eventually it's going to bury you. And it just shows that you internalize other people's beliefs about who you should be or what you should do. And it's really a sign, if you're feeling shame, it's really a sign that you need to reconnect with yourself. You know, like I said, it ties in guilt. It's a very imbalanced mental state. And feeling shame, if you've done something really wrong and you're paying the consequence, you are going to feel shame. But honestly, if you repent and you are following a different path now, then there's really no reason for shame. There's really not. It's just, you know, accept what happened, accept the consequences, and move on. If you are feeling shame because you feel like you haven't lived up to an expectation that someone has placed on you, then you need to take an internal inventory and kind of figure out, you know, um, why that expectation has been placed in the first place, and how much you are actually putting into that expectation, and is it something that you can actually live up to? So shame is one of those things that um, kind of shows maybe that you're moving out of a respect for yourself as well. So really take an inventory and figure out why that feeling is showing up in your life, and journal about it, write it down. Heart to page is really a great way of figuring out a lot of these things. I can't emphasize that enough. So the next emotion we're going to talk about is anxiety. And anxiety is one of those things that shows that you are stuck in the past and you're living in fear of the future. And it could be very well that something in the past happened, and so you're afraid to move into the future because of the situation that happened in the past. But it's so important to live in the present. And, anxiety is one of those things that is really a perspective change in your mind. I know that anxiety is a super huge emotion. It's real. I'm not saying it's not real. My daughter suffers from anxiety, and it's something that you have to work through. And if it's something that is holding you in a point of constant fear, then you need to kind of reconnect and maybe even get some counseling help, learn how to walk away from that fear and change your perspective. And sometimes mild anxiety is just a matter of gratitude, and giving gratitude for the things that you do have, not being upset about what you don't have. And, again, it's being focused on the present. What can you do right now? Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow is not promised. And don't keep looking in the back. There's the saying that, I don't know who quoted it, but like that's why the rear view mirror is so small. It's because you're not meant to keep looking in the past. Your windshield is so big because you need to have the full sight of what's ahead of you in the present, in the now. We're not so farsighted that we can see 6 blocks ahead of us. We can only see that 1 block ahead of us. So, keep focusing on the present. The present is bright, and you can always find something good about what's happening right now. So, the last of the 9 toxic emotions is sadness. And I believe it's the last one because all of these emotions, when you're feeling them and you're not feeling well, bring on a sadness. And it's deep feelings. It's, and any of these emotions, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying don't feel them. What is, we're human beings. We feel and we have all these emotions for a reason. And you are meant to feel them, but the emotions are there to teach us. We are emotional beings. It's part of the human experience, but we have the ability to pull out of them. And, sadness is you have deep feelings, you care deeply. And, it's the ability to pull out of sadness that keeps you healthy. It's the ability to pull out of anxiety that keeps you healthy. It's our ability to pull out of any one of these emotions that will keep you feeling well. And, sadness and grief are two different things. So I want to be very, very clear that I'm not talking about grief right now. I'm talking about sadness. And again, when you use the perspective of gratitude, it's the world is, on fire right now. It's easy for us to be overwhelmed and feel sad about different things that are happening in the world. But there are also really good things that are happening, and you can always find them. I listen to a radio station, and the afternoon DJ, he always says, the world is full of good people. And if you can't find one, then be one. And I think that that is such an excellent saying, because you can bring goodness. Even if you are sad, you can, pop out of that, pull yourself through it, understand it's a normal emotion. And if something happened to make you sad, there's a reason. That's why we're separated from the animals. It's like we have all these emotions. Everything is brought to us to learn from. And, it's not necessarily a negative thing to have all these emotions and to feel them. You need to feel them. As they say, feel the feels. But feel them, make the best of it, learn the lesson, and then move forward. Because, life is meant to really ebb and flow. And joy and bliss exist with sadness and despair. And it's, kind of the yin and the yang. And, emotions will definitely affect your overall health. It's our mind, our body, our soul, we're all connected. And probably the two biggest emotions that I see in my practice are anxiety and overwhelm. And so, if you have a depressed mind or an upset mind, then you're going to have an upset body. You must heal one in order to heal the other. So like I said, this is a big topic, and so we're going to continue on next week. And I'm going to go into what are the different things that are affected by toxic emotions. And there's a two-sided approach to this. It's like there is the medical approach. If you're feeling a lot of anxiety and overwhelm, then definitely counseling and that kind of help is definitely needed. But we also need to rebalance your body as well. So it's very two-sided. I'm going to talk a little bit about all of the different systems that are affected by all of these emotions. And then I'm going to, of course, give you the solution, because I'm never not going to give you a solution. Everything is figure outable. So that was a quick half hour. And if you have any questions anytime, please do not hesitate to reach out. I can be reached at support@Hello, Your Health is Calling. I have a number of different ways that we can work together. I have different packages. If you're serious about your health, if you really want to get into great balance, if you want to live a long, wonderful, happy life, then integrative health is where the next step is for you. So thanks for tuning in. If your health is calling, please answer. Don't delay. Don't be one of my clients that says, I wish I had called you sooner, because good health is really just a phone call away. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for tuning in to another empowering episode of Hello, Your Health is Calling with Sue Kostyk. Remember, your health journey is ongoing, and we're here to support you every step of the way. If you have any questions, insights, or stories to share, don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with us on social media or call in live at 888 994-4995 Studio A. Together, we're transforming lives and embracing holistic well-being. Until next time, prioritize your health and remember, your health is calling.